Welcome back to the channel. It's your favorite realtor, Dr. Yeti, and I am back with yet another video. I know you guys can still hear the stuffiness, but I've been drinking my hot tea and I feel a lot better. No more headaches or anything like that, so I'm very grateful. However, we're gonna get to this video. Today we're gonna be talking about how to spot a bad house. Now, a lot of times we go into the real estate world and we say, I'm ready to buy a house to live in, and no research done whatsoever and just jumping into the housing market. Today, I haven't seen this, I have not watched this video yet, and I'm gonna be reacting to Jackie Baker's video on how to spot a bad house in 60 seconds. So in 60 seconds, how can you spot a bad house? Let us see if what she's saying is legit or not. Let's get into it.
I'll tell you, if you've identified a few or more of these things on this list, it's a bad house.
Okay.
You can spot a bad house in about 60 seconds.
A simple cream could really lighten things up. You could even put in a skylight.
In today's video, I'm going to share with you my checklist, my process of what I look for when I am previewing homes with my clients to help identify a bad house. I get questions all the time from first-time buyers. What exactly am I looking for when I'm looking at a home? Well, I'm going to tell you, that's what this video is all about. So if you're in the process of buying a home, or you're thinking about buying a home and you need that question answered, stick around. I'm going to show you what to look for. So let's get into it, okay?
Let's get into it.
Stick with me here. Then you got to visualize this. As we pull up to a home, the first thing I'm looking at is I'm checking out the neighborhood.
Yes.
I'm checking out the location. I'm checking out the street.
Yes.
How is the parking? And what about the driveway?
Yes.
Is the driveway large enough to fit several cars?
Kroger Delivery's refrigerated trucks bring fresh groceries right to your...
This is so important because so many times people just look at the house without really looking at what is the neighborhood going to look like. And sometimes I even say check at night. When you find a property that you like, drive around the neighborhood at night. Call Domino's Pizza to see if they are delivering to that neighborhood, to see if that neighborhood is a relatively safe neighborhood, if you can get pizza delivered to that location. That's a well-known thing, right? If you cannot get pizza delivered to that house, it's not a safe neighborhood, because then the pizza delivery people are not willing to drive there because it's not safe. So those are things that, you have to check out, at night, just drive around, see what the neighborhood looks like, what the neighbors look like. Would you feel comfortable driving around here at night? Would you feel comfortable inviting people over? If you were to invite people over, where would they park? Is there going to be any issues with parking? Things like that. Those are things you have to think about, your overall goal at the end of it all.
Love to entertain, right? They're going to have family over for holidays and parties and barbecues and all those things. We want to make sure that there's going to be plenty of parking. What I'm also looking at is it close?
Mind you, I didn't watch this. So she's talking about parking and I'm talking about parking. I haven't watched this video, so.
To a major thoroughfare? Is the property close to any highways? Does the property back up to, say, a shopping center? Does it back up to an office building, a warehouse, what have you? Those are the things we are looking for. I am also looking at the neighbors too. I'm looking at their yards and seeing, what's going on. If I see that the neighbor's yard isn't well maintained, that could potentially be an issue that you don't want to deal with down the road, arguing with your neighbor to get him to clean up his yard. Next, we're going to be looking at the roof. As I approach the home, I always look up at the roof. I'm looking to see if there's moss, if there's any buckling in the roof, if there's missing shingles. Are there tree branches touching the roof? How close are the trees to the home? That's another big thing. Here in North Jersey, there are trees galore. There could be many trees really close to a house. That's another thing I'm looking at, because that's a big ticket item. It's very expensive to take trees down. Next, as I walk around the perimeter of the home.
That's valid, because now the roof situation, I can't really look at the roof some houses, they're really high. I can't really look at the roof. I can try, right? But that's what inspections are for. It's when the inspection will go out and take a look at that. And then you can get sellers concessions or tell them to fix it before you buy the house, things like that. So I'm not really too concerned with the roof situation, even though a roof is a significantly high ticket item. But the roof, if you do inspection and you find that it's not worth it, then yeah, you just move on. But you're not just like everything else in the house may be great, but maybe a shingle or two are missing. And then you just get sellers concessions to replace the roof. Or you can just tell the sellers to replace the roof with their insurance before you buy the house. So those are things that, inspection can pick up. So I don't know about that.
We're looking at the exterior foundation. I'm looking for cracks. Right, you've heard me talk about foundation cracks before. We're looking
so you mean to tell me in 60 seconds you're going to walk around the house to look for foundation cracks? Those are things that I think the inspection report will come up with. Like if you like the house, everything looks great. Like you may find foundation cracks, but what if it's things that can easily be fixed? Like maybe there is a crack in the foundation, but it only would cost a few $1,000s to fix it, and the seller can fix it before you buy it. Like what if those are things that the sellers are willing to fix? What if there are things like, so I wouldn't just say, oh, it's a bad house. Now, don't get me wrong. Foundational issues are major. I'm not saying they're not. However, you won't really know if there's any possible resolution to it unless you have a conversation with the seller. So I just don't know if I can agree with that.
Any step cracks or horizontal cracks and vertical cracks. Now, vertical cracks, they're not as serious as long as they are smaller than 1/8 of an inch. If they're wider than 1/4 of an inch, then you got a problem. Even if those cracks were patched up, I'm making a mental note of that because that tells me there could have been a potential issue there before and the seller had addressed it, but they patched it up. I want to know what happened there. Now, as we're going through the yard, and this is really only if, say, it had rained heavily prior to the showing. If I find that there's a lot of pooling of water in like one area of the yard, or if it's pooling like in an area close to the house, that could be a sign of a drainage issue. So that I'm looking for as well. But I mean, that's only easy to observe if it had rained heavily prior to us seeing the home. If the home has a pool, I'm going to be looking at the coping. I'm looking at the decking. Is there any cracks? I'm looking at the liner of the pool. And you can tell when a liner is older on a pool. I see that.
I'm not going to lie. These are all like inspection things. Like I'm not saying that you shouldn't pay attention to these things, but it's not enough for me to say this is a bad house. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's enough to say, okay, these are high ticket items that the sellers may need to fix before I buy the house, or the seller definitely needs to address, right? But I don't know.
Liners on the older side, that's a big ticket item. That's going to be super expensive. I'm going to observe the pool equipment. How is that looking? Is that on the older side? That could be something that needs to be.
I don't know what the pool equipment is supposed to look like. Hey, listen, if you hire me as your realtor and you want me to look at pool equipment, I don't know if I can help you with that. I'm sorry.
Replaced. Now let's enter the home. We enter the home through the front door. What's the first thing I always look at? My colleagues laugh at me, but I'm sorry. I look at the floors. I'll walk in, I see, look at the entryway, and first thing, floors. What do the floors look like? Yeah. Floors can be very expensive.
Exactly.
When you have to replace them. So first thing I'm looking at are the hardwood floors. If there's any damage, so if you see black stains, any water damage, or if there's softening, or even like holes in the wood, yeah, that's going to need to be replaced. Yeah. Next, let's talk about the tile floors. I'm talking marble, porcelain, ceramic tiles. If there are cracks, many cracks or broken tiles,
this isn't shopping.
I will say this before she talks about like the whole thing with the water or the black spotting or stuff like that. Like that could be a deeper issue. And yeah, you can fix the flooring, but what's the reason why the flooring looked like that in the first place? It could be termites, which is a huge deal. Like termites is not simple to fix. It's not a simple fix because they have different growth cycles. If it could be water damage, which could potentially lead to mold, or a deeper issue with the house itself, like where's the water damage coming from? how much of a damage did it cause, right? Because the surface level could be like the tip of the iceberg is the messed up flooring, but what if there's a deeper rooted damage in the house, right? So those are things that need to be addressed. So I will say flooring is significant, but with the tiles, let's hear what she has to say about that, because tiles are also complex because sometimes the tiles may be outdated, so they no longer sell those tiles. So even if one tile is broken, you want to replace it, unfortunately you can't find that specific brand of tiles because they no longer make it anymore. So now you have to replace the entire floor because of one broken tile.
This is going to be a big, expensive item. Several years ago, I'll never forget this one. I took clients to go look at a home, and they had ceramic tile from the front door down a long hallway leading to the kitchen and family room is all the same tile. There were so many broken tiles from the front door into the kitchen. That would have been the first thing I would have replaced if I was buying that house. And I told my clients, it's one thing if it was hardwood. Hardwood, you could probably replace like a section, or you can just simply refinish hardwood floors. But when you're dealing with tile that's broken and you want to take that up, speaking from experience, because I did it in my own house, it is so expensive to remove. So this is why I look at floors as soon as I walk into a house. From there, I'm going to be looking up at the walls. I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm looking for water stains. I'm looking to see if there's any patch jobs in the ceiling. I'm also looking for cracks in the ceilings and on the walls. Now, again, minor cracks are normal from settling. And people freak out sometimes when they see a crack in the wall and they think, oh my God, there's a structure problem. Not so fast. It could just be simple settling. But we are going to be looking for any bigger cracks on the walls and in the ceilings. Next, we're looking at the windows. We're going to see if they are single pane or double pane windows, if they're older windows, if they're hard to open and close. That's your sign right there.
This is the stuff that inspectors do. I'm not walking around, because typically when I do showings, between 10 to 15 minutes, we're in and out. We're not checking for window panes and all these other things. Like, that's stuff that inspectors will determine for you and let you know. And that's why you go with your inspector. Like, you find the house, you like the house, okay, then that's when you go to the inspectors. But I feel like, of course, I guess you got to make the video, but a lot of this stuff I don't think is necessary. Like, I don't think you need to be opening windows to confirm if it's hard to open. Either, like, if it's hard to open, I'm not going to buy the house anymore. Like, I don't think
because
that's
you're going to have
valid.
to replace the
houses have flaws. Houses have flaws, okay? So they're not going to be perfect. I wouldn't consider it a bad house because the windows are hard to open.
Double pane windows, if they're older windows, if they're hard to open and close, that's your sign right there. This isn't a good house because you're going to have to replace the windows. It's very expensive to.
You're not going to have to replace the windows because you can't open it. Or not that you can open it, but it's hard for you to open it. And even if that's the case, is it a bad house because the windows are hard to open? Like, hey, tell the buyer, the seller, like, hey, we can't buy this house because the windows are hard to open. Can you reduce the price? But to call it a bad house because
replace
of the windows,
if you haven't done it,
it's a little bit excessive.
I can tell you, it's a lot of money. It's a lot. If the home has a fireplace, we're going to observe to see if it's a gas fireplace or wood burning. If it's wood burning, you should be able to tell whether or not that fireplace has been used, if it's actively being used. If it's not, that's your sign. If you're going to make an offer on the house and you're going to be purchasing it, you're definitely going to want to have a chimney inspection done. My experience, when people do not use their fireplaces for years on end, moisture does settle inside the chimney and it impacts the liner and can damage the liner, and then you would need a new one. Now, going back to outside, I did forget to mention that was one of the other things that we look at on the outside too. I'm looking at the chimneys to see if there's any missing mortar, if there's missing bricks. Is the chimney leaning? These are important things we need to look at. That's a big problem.
To be very
right
honest
there.
with you, like, I've done showings with fireplaces, at least here in Georgia, maybe because it's in Georgia. It gets cold, but I don't think it gets cold enough to say you want to use your chimney. But people don't really use their chimneys out here. Like, we have properties with chimneys, but when I ask, does this chimney work? They'll say, we've never used it before. So I don't know if it works or not. So I don't know. Like, I didn't think people really use their chimneys, but like I said, I'm not in a state that chimneys are really used. They're there. We have properties that have chimneys, but we don't even know if the chimney is gas or like wood burning. That's the, like, you'll see the chimney, it's been there. It's like they've never touched it since the house was built. And so you don't even know if the chimney requires gas or if it requires wood.
Especially a leaning chimney. Okay, another big thing we're going to be looking at is the electrical panel. We want to know, what is the amperage? What's it?
Now, let's be honest. You walk through a house, you do a showing. Are you going to be looking through the electrical panel? Or are you just going to be looking, okay, I like the house, it's very pretty, let's go to the next house? Like, you really typically have 10 to 15 minutes to look at a house. And you're going to be looking through the electrical panel? Now, this is really stuff that the inspector does. So I guess she's using content to make video, but I don't really think that this is enough to say that I'm not going to be looking through any electric. If you're going with me as your agent, I'm not looking through no electrical panel with you. I don't even know what to look at.
Condition. Is it older? Does it need to be upgraded? You can tell pretty easily if an electric panel needs to be upgraded. Is it overloaded? I've seen electric panels where there is just like a ton of stuff, like wires coming out of it. Believe me, I've seen houses like this where I'm like, what in the heck are they running into this electric panel? That's a big red flag too. Now let's talk about the furnace, the AC, and the water heater.
Marshall's buyers hustle for great gifts.
Get your money, girl. Chile.
The furnace, we're going to see the condition it's in. Now, it could be on the older side, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. As long as the furnace has been maintained, furnaces can last a fairly long time. But what we're looking for is corrosion. Is there any corrosion on the valves to the furnace? Is there any corrosion on the pipes leading in?
Now, typically, if you have a house with a HVAC and all that stuff, you're not going to find the furnace if it's in the basement or in the attic. Are you going to be going to the attic to be looking at the the furnace? Like, ask yourself, like, are you in 60 seconds? Because she said how to spot a bad house in 60 seconds. Are you? The further down I go and the more like commentary that I have, I realize that, it's just content, right? So I can't really speak negatively about it, but I don't really know much about furnaces. I don't know what to look for in the furnace. And like I said, this is really what the inspector would be doing. But I mean, I'm not showing a house and saying, okay, y'all, let's go look at the furnace and see what's going on with it. Like, that's not what my job is. Okay. But when you go with an inspector, right, I think this is ideal. Like, when you're going with your inspector, like, oh, okay, like, let's go upstairs and look at the attic. What does the furnace look like? Blah, blah, blah. Like, this is when you would have questions to ask your inspector. Like, I guess it's good to know what types of questions you can have to your inspector. But if you're just doing a general showing to see in 60 seconds, I don't know, brother. I'm not doing that.
To the furnace. Is it looking rusted and kind of gross and definitely
Rusty,
not
dusty,
maintained? That is super important. That's a sign of like hardly any maintenance or service done to that furnace. Water heater. This is another one. The first thing I look for is the date that the water heater was installed. If it was installed within the last 10 to 12 years, then we're in good shape. Water heaters only last about 10 to 12 years. So if it's a water heater that's already at the end of its life, I can guarantee you're going to be replacing your water heater once you buy that house, and you're looking at a few $1,000s. Now let's talk about the central.
I will say this, okay? She's going to talk about the HVAC too. It doesn't matter when the HVAC or the water heater was installed. You know why? Because if that water heater was a refurbished water heater, you are going to need to replace it regardless, or not necessarily replace it regardless, but you're not going to have warranty on it, and you're not guaranteed whether or not this thing works. Why am I saying this? She's about to talk about HVAC in a second, but I purchased a property 2022. HVAC was manufactured 2019. 2020, 2021, 2022, that's 3 years. So we didn't even bother doing any HVAC inspection on it because The HVAC is only 3 years old. What's the point? Well, fast forward, home was purchased. Turns out that the HVAC is, not the best. And when I reached out to the previous owner and I said, hey, do you have the warranty on this HVAC? He said there is no warranty because this HVAC was refurbished. So I say all this just to say, just because the date on the HVAC or on the system says one thing does not mean you don't need to do inspection on that particular item. You need to do an inspection on all the major high ticket things on the property, because you do not want to overlook something because you think that it is, the date makes sense. The date doesn't mean anything. I found out. So
Central air. The air handlers for the central air are typically located in the attic. But how do we know that an AC is on the older side? I check the condition of the condensers that are on the outside of the house.
dang, girl,
If it's rust,
she needs to get an inspector's license. That's what she needs to do. She needs to get an inspector's license, because my goodness, you looking at condensers? I don't even know what a condenser looks like. Is this whole system a condenser, or is there a specific part of this that's the condenser? I don't know. She needs to be an inspector, not a realtor.
they're looking really weathered.
Yeah.
That's a sign it's a much older unit.
Okay,
and
yeah,
that's
that's
something
valid,
you're
that's
going to need
valid.
to replace in a few years, if not sooner. As I'm going through the rest of the house, I'm also looking to see if there was any work done, any cosmetic work done. You know where I'm going with this. Sometimes homeowners like to just DIY. They like to repair or replace things themselves, which is totally fine. I'm in support of that. But if the workmanship looks shoddy and sloppy, the tiles uneven, the vanity is not fully attached to the wall, things like that, that's a problem. So that's something you're going to have to take on yourself and like re-gut that bathroom and redo it all yourself. I'm also going to be looking underneath the sinks in the bathrooms and in the kitchen. We want to see if there are any leaks and if there's any mold. Speaking of mold, if the home has a
I'm
basement,
sorry for sighing so heavily, but these are all things that your inspector would do. And that's why I do always highly suggest that you go with your inspector to do these
and
things.
especially
but
if it's
you're
an
not checking
unfinished
for
basement,
mold.
we are going to be looking for moisture. This is so super important. If there's a dehumidifier or multiple dehumidifiers in the basement, what does that tell you? There's moisture down
humidity,
there.
yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that the basement definitely took on water. I mean, there are some basements where, yeah, it does get musty, especially in the humid months. I understand that. But if dehumidifiers are running, there's multiple ones, it's a possibility there could have been water in there. And another way we can look for water is if there are lines on the walls, say like, 6 inches, even less, a few inches up to like a foot
That's
or
a lot
higher.
of
If you
water.
see a line along the wall, that tells you right there that there was water in that basement at one time. Now, this only applies to unfinished basements. Now, if you have a finished basement and the walls have been sheetrocked, it's going to be hard to tell if there was moisture there.
yeah.
So again, this really applies to those unfinished basements. It'll be easier to spot any water damage. And let's get back to the whole foundation
I just
cracks
hope
that
that
we
nobody's doing their own home inspections. Hire an inspector,
saw on the
please.
exterior. We're going to be looking for
Please.
cracks again in the basement. Are there any cracks, such as step cracks, horizontal or vertical cracks? If there are,
Kroger shoppers get up high
I didn't
quality.
even know there were different types of cracks.
that's a sign that soil is pushing against a foundation, the soil's shifting, and it's causing problems with the structure. Now, keep in mind, you can be looking for these things, but your real estate agent really should be looking at these as well. And a really good agent will know to look for these things. And if you need to be connected to a real estate agent, if you're thinking about buying a home in your market, you can click that link down below or scan this QR code.
No, don't scan no QR code now, y'all. Oh, did I just mistakenly start this video
But
over again?
code because the seller is supposed to give honest information about the home, whether there were any repairs, any damage, what have you. If the home did take on water, they're supposed to be putting all of that information into seller's disclosure. Newsflash, seller's disclosures are not 100% accurate.
Valid.
I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but not every seller is going to be honest.
Yes.
So do not rely on the seller's disclosure 100%. Now, myself, before I go look at a home, if the seller's disclosure is available, I will look at it prior to looking at the home to see if there is anything glaring on the seller's disclosure that we need to be looking at when we're previewing the home. But again, do not rely on that 100%.
Yes.
If any of these items come up or anything comes up when you're previewing a home and it's not indicated on the seller's disclosure, you really should have your real estate agent go back to the listing agent and ask questions about the things that you have observed. But I would tell you, if you've identified a few or more of these things on this list, it's a bad house.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, always remember, this isn't about finding the perfect home. It's about avoiding a money
Major
pit.
issues, yeah. Oof. Wow.
So I want to know, tell me in the comments, have you
What would you
seen
do in that
any of the
situation?
things that
Oh my
I've
goodness.
mentioned here?
I mean, she mentioned everything she mentioned in this video is valid. Like, I do agree, like, everything is valid. I don't know anything about electrical panels. I don't know anything about condensers and HVAC systems. I will say this, however, a lot of this stuff, you should look at that. Those are major high ticket stuff. However, hire an inspector. Hire an inspector and go with your inspector. Don't hire the inspector and be remote and be like, hey, inspector, what did you find? Because the inspector will most likely not remember every single thing. Go with the inspector, and when you go with the inspector, ask the questions that you feel like are necessary, and then ask the inspector, hey, are these high ticket things, like, is it going to cost a lot of money to replace these things or to fix these things? That's when, and that the beauty of it is that when you find out, like, okay, it's only going to cost $5,000, you can afford to fix that, or maybe you can't. Even if you can afford to fix it, you bring it up to the seller. Hey, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, we did find this issue with the property. We need to talk about some negotiations. Either give me some seller credit or reduce the price of the house by $5,000, right? These are things that you do during negotiations to drop the price or get seller's credit. But, you know, I would not say that it's a bad house because it's hard to open a window. I'm still stuck on that. I would not say that it's a bad house because the HVAC is older. You can get seller's credits, right? You can say, okay, give me $10,000 of seller's credit, or give me $10,000 off the sale of the home. So when I do need to replace this HVAC, then I will. And if you can't replace the HVAC, let's say you do get seller's credit, but you say to yourself, I just don't want to fix this. Like, it's either the seller fixes it or I don't buy the house. Then you can go and find another property. But it's not enough to say this is a bad house. Like, you know, it's just, what can your pockets handle? What can your pockets handle fixing and replacing that HVAC after you buy the house, right? Can your pocket handle replacing the roof after you buy the house? And I'm not saying that you should not bring it up to the seller. Bring it up to the seller. Tell them, hey, fix this. If they say they can't fix it, but they'll give you seller's credit, take the seller's credit. Can your pockets afford, after you buy the house with the seller's credit, with everything, to fix the roof? Sometimes at closing, buyers get a check. You get a check at closing to fix the things that you need to fix. So those are things that you need to pay attention to. So I don't think that it would be considered a bad house. It would just mean that you have more room to negotiate the cost or the seller credits of that home. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I really do appreciate videos like these because it gives people perspective and understanding of what to look for when they're buying homes. And I probably would be doing more videos like this. But let me know in the comments if you like me making more videos like these, like more educational in terms of like how to buy a house, what to look out for, and things like that. So anyway, don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.